Hi, I'm Lori Barnes, the astrologer who helps people find their true calling and take action towards manifesting it. Let's start off today's video with the date and times of the upcoming Scorpio new moon. The new moon is this Monday, November 13th. If you're on the west coast of the USA, it'll be at 1:27 a.m. early in the morning or in the middle of the night. If you're on the east coast, it'll be at 4:27 a.m. and in the morning. And then if you are in Rome, Italy, where I'm broadcasting from, it will be at 10:27 a.m. And this new moon in Scorpio is at 20 degrees of the sign of Scorpio. If you don't have your natal chart placements memorized, like where your sun and your moon, Mercury, Venus, Mars, etc., if you don't know those placements, it's best to have a copy of your chart in front of you while you're listening to this video, because you're going to want to know what house is occupied by the signs I'm going to talk about today. And so the signs I'm going to focus on are Scorpio, the sign of the new moon, Taurus, Libra, Sagittarius, Leo, and Pisces. I'm going to touch on all of those signs today. And knowing the houses that these signs occupy in your chart is going to provide a lot more detail about the part of your life that's activated by these planets that are moving through or transiting through your chart. If you don't know or you're unsure of what the different astrology houses mean, I have a blog on that, and I'll include a link below so that you can go and look up the topics, themes, and people that have to do with each astrological house. And if you don't have a copy of your chart, you can get one free. There's many free online calculators. I recommend astro.com or astro-seek.com. Those are both good ones to get a free copy of your chart. So it's a new moon, and new moons are about new beginnings, planting a metaphorical seed. It's about growth, rebirth, taking action towards something new, a new, like a fresh path or a new phase of something, new cycle. And it's about preparation. It's also a time that is more restful and quiet, because the new moon is born out of the end of the previous cycle. So as the moon was going dark in the previous cycle, that's called the balsamic phase, and it's the last phase of a lunar cycle. And it's about endings, and the sky becomes dark, and then we have the new moon. So the new moon shares the dark sky with the previous phase, right? The balsamic phase ends and the new moon phase starts. And these two phases are both when the moon isn't receiving light from the sun. The end of the balsamic and the very beginning of the new moon phase is when the sky is dark. Now, a new moon eventually appears in the new moon phase, the tiny little sliver of crescent, and that usually happens on average around 18 to 24 hours after the actual new moon, which I already gave you the times for. And so you can look in the sky for that. And, of course, whether or not you can see that depends on the time of day, where you are, and the weather conditions. So this crescent new moon that happens in the new moon phase, that's when that seed that you planted, that metaphorical seed, is in the process of sprouting. It's young, it's new, it's naive, it's a bit otherworldly as it's kind of getting adjusted into this new environment that it's born into. If you do new moon rituals, remember to do your new moon ritual in the new moon phase, not before, not in the balsamic phase of the previous cycle. And that's why I include the time, so you know when the new moon cycle is actually starting, and you can figure out the time in your own time zone. Each new moon takes place in a different sign, usually, unless we have a blue moon thing going on. Each new moon has a different sign and different configurations that are happening in the sky. And that's why I do these videos every month, so that I can share with you what's going on at the time of the new moon. So this one is in the sign of Scorpio. A new moon always means that the sun and the moon are both in the same sign. And that means that the sun is in Scorpio. We're in Scorpio season. That's what that means when we say Scorpio season. It's defined by the passage of the sun through that part of the zodiac. And that's the sun's there for around 4 weeks, but the moon's there only a couple of days because the moon moves really fast. This new moon in Scorpio with the sun in Scorpio, also we have Mars in Scorpio. So we have 3 bodies in the sign of Scorpio, and Mars is traveling really close to this new moon. So this is really going to intensify the new moon and give it a boost of a lot of energy and drive. For some of us, this can be really welcome, like, yes, give me that boost of energy. But for others, it can be kind of like pushing you more to be more assertive or aggressive than maybe you want to be. So do be careful about letting anything that you're angry about or you're resentful about, because it can bubble over in the next few weeks to the point where you might say or do something that you regret. So pay attention to that. And especially on the days on or around November 17th, because that's when the sun and Mars are going to be in the exact same degree. Rather than let this energy push your buttons, try to direct that energy and do something that benefits you without hurting anyone else. You may find you have more energy, more drive to make progress on something or get something done, something that's really close to your heart. And I hope that you do take this energy and let it give you like this superhuman power almost, with Mars there with the sun and the moon. And though anger or resentment can push you into action, don't let it be, the only thing that drives you, because, you may find that you can really lean into your power, lean into your desires, your determination. What is it that you want? Let it's like a super trio we have with the sun and the moon and the Mars, let it superpower something in your life. So this is why it's important to know where Scorpio is in your chart, because that's going to give you a lot more information on which part of your life is getting this Scorpio boost, this like major energy trio. Let's talk about Scorpios. Like all of the signs in the zodiac, Scorpio has positive and negative qualities, the whole spectrum. And so the sign of Scorpio, it really excels at going deep into any subject. It's a fixed sign, so it has a lot of endurance, and it doesn't get easily distracted. Scorpio can be piercing, like serious, kind of piercing to the heart of the matter. And it puts a lot of effort into peeling back the layers. Scorpio puts a lot of focus on things that it's interested in. And usually those things are very profound. Scorpio doesn't swim in the shallow end of the pool. It likes to go into the depths. And that's why sometimes you hear that Scorpio can be obsessive or even vindictive. And, that's really more of the negative or shadow side of Scorpio. So, definitely try to steer yourself towards the more productive sides of Scorpio, peeling back the layers to get to the heart of any matter. That's going to be very beneficial during this time with all this Scorpio energy. And some other traits of Scorpio are honesty, loyalty, and really great intuition. Scorpio is a water sign. It can be very empathic, and Scorpio can be very in touch with how other people feel, even with that stoic face that sometimes Scorpios display, like you have no idea what's going on, behind that, but they are typically pretty empathic and have a good feel with what other people are experiencing. Scorpios are not gossipers. They're not going to share all of their personal information with anyone. They don't wear their emotions on their sleeves. And they will share, but only with a few trusted, close friends, right? And so Scorpio, let's talk about this Scorpio symbol. So it actually has 3 symbolic representations. The obvious one, the scorpion, it's the one that walks the earth, and it stings, and it represents that desire to really penetrate the deepest levels of a relationship, concept, or project, for example. And sometimes that sting comes from really piercing into those depths, and it's not always comfortable to go that deep into a subject. There's also the eagle that represents Scorpio, and the eagle has that broad bird's eye vision and can use that information wisely, because they're getting all of this information, they're analyzing and researching and taking it all in, and can put it all together and use that in a sage, wise way. And then the third representation of Scorpio, or the third symbol, is the phoenix. And the phoenix is the bird that will turn into fire, burn to ash, and then be reborn into new form. It's a symbol of purification, rebirth, regeneration. These are all keywords that are associated with Scorpio. Scorpio is a Mars sign. And with Mars traveling through its own sign, along with the sun and moon, it's a really powerful new moon, a really intense scorpionic new moon. The planet Mars is about taking action, getting things done. Every planet can perform its duties best when it's in its own sign. And so Mars in its own sign of Scorpio is able to perform at its best. Aries is its other sign. This new moon really highlights the Scorpio part of your chart. You want to find that house that Scorpio occupies in your chart and use that information to clarify that energy and to take time to research and take action on purifying something in your life that has to do with that part of your chart. Mars is going to bring action to that part of your chart, and it's going to be a place where you may find that you have more determination to get something done. And if there's something very important going on in your life that has to do with that Scorpio part of your chart, you may just have a lot more will and drive that can go and help you make progress in that area of your life, whether it's a project or a person, whatever it is. There's going to be a boost in the Scorpio part of your chart. Now, caution for the Scorpio related things or part of your chart is to watch out for holding any grudges or trying to get even or take revenge on someone or something, though you may really want to do that, and Mars is going to be there boosting. You might miss out on these beautiful opportunities that this new moon is bringing to us, because negative energy tends to attract more negative energy. So rather than fixating on what's wrong or what someone else did, you can gain a lot more out of this new moon by using this energy to purge and purify anything that's causing you pain or anxiety. So think about what obstacles are keeping you from doing what you really enjoy doing. Negative people and things are going to fade away when you focus on the regenerative energy that comes with this Scorpio new moon. Focus on doing what's best for you instead of getting even with someone else. So you refocus to yourself and how can you boost you. In fact, actually, one of the most auspicious uses of the sun, moon, and Mars in Scorpio is having this intense focus and power that's on hand, and you can bend this to your will. Use this time to find creative solutions, focus on the positive, not the negative parts of how the Scorpio energy can be used. There is another configuration happening at the same time of this new moon that's really beautiful, and it's the sextile connection between Venus and Libra and Mercury and Sagittarius. These two planets are working together. They are kind of working over here in a different part of your chart to help find a solution that works for everyone. Libra wants to find a way that satisfies everyone, while Mercury in Sagittarius is full of ideas and optimism. And so these two are kind of like adding this layer of help that's very outgoing and proactive. Venus and Mercury in this tight sextile will lighten up the mood of the new moon with their natures that are expressing in fire and air, whereas Scorpio is water. So Venus is in its own sign of Libra. It's an air sign, which brings a social tone to the new moon, and it lightens up conversation. And it's beaming over to Mercury with a sextile in this kind of optimistic and outgoing sign, Sagittarius. So these two are really ready for socializing, party, hanging out with your friends, and doing some sort of ritual with kindred spirits. With Scorpio, Moon, Sun, Mars, you can really have some transformative experiences that maybe you want to share with friends or do with your friends. So that could be a way to look at these two very different energies happening at the same time, but using them to work together to make the best experience for you. Other planets are also contributing to the Scorpio new moon. We have Jupiter and Uranus in the sign of Taurus, and that's the sign opposite of Scorpio, the new moon. Now, these signs are on two ends of the same axis. So while Scorpio is a water sign and it operates on intuition, emotion, instinct, Taurus is an earth sign on the other side, and it operates on reality, fact, and practicality. They have things in common. They share the same polarity. So they're earth and water. They're both receptive, and they're both fixed signs. So they both can be terribly stubborn and refuse to budge even a millimeter. As opposites and in opposition, these two signs, they challenge and reflect to each other like a mirror. They bring to consciousness the two sides of a matter. They show where maybe choices must be made, or a way to see two sides of an issue. Scorpio on one side wants to go into the depths and analyze everything. Scorpio is going to take action based on what it has evaluated on instinct, especially the gut and emotions, while Taurus over here wants to keep things moving at a steady pace and really is more focused on the pleasures of the five senses, what can be seen, felt, heard. So where Scorpio will go into any world or realm, visible, invisible, ethereal, the dream world, Scorpio wants to gather as much information as possible, where Taurus is very grounded in the world of fact and practicality. They want to see proof, what's right in front of me. So Taurus can learn from Scorpio how to embrace, the sixth sense, and Taurus can help Scorpio step away from this endless searching and analyzing and going deeper and deeper, and just kind of look at what's happening right now in the present moment. Taurus is grounding. It can help ground Scorpio's watery energy that thrives in this endless analyzing. Water can be very changeable, and where earth is very practical and grounded. So that's how those two signs work together. So we have Uranus and Jupiter traveling through Taurus. Uranus is more tightly connected to the new moon by degree than Jupiter is, but they're both on that other side of the Scorpio new moon in your Taurus house. So look at where Taurus is in your chart and what the meaning is of that house to learn more about how this is going to show up for you. Jupiter in Taurus across the way can represent a warning of, don't go too far and overdo something. And, the planet on each side of the Scorpio Taurus axis help bring awareness about the balance between the Scorpio and Taurus houses in your chart. Uranus, it can indicate a desire for change in the houses of Scorpio and Taurus, where they're both fixed by nature, but Uranus is all about change. So this can kind of help move some change along, even if these signs are trying to stay fixed in place. Now, Uranus in Taurus is more of a long-term statement because it's been there since 2016, and it'll be there for a long while longer, but it is activated by this new moon. With Uranus there, it can indicate a sudden or unexpected change. And also you can make progress in any major project that requires research or analysis in the Scorpio or Taurus parts of your chart. And you're likely to feel more charged up and wanting to take action as it pertains to these two houses in your chart with all of the activity, and especially the week after the new moon. So look out for that. A few other things to mention. Black Moon Lilith is in a T-square, so that means squaring both the Taurus and Scorpio parts of your chart from the sign of Leo. There may be a part of your life that gets a boost of energy to make a change for the better as it relates to the freedom of your raw feminine power. That's coming from Black Moon Lilith, putting some stress and tension on the Taurus and Scorpio parts of your chart. You can look to your Leo house, where Black Moon Lilith is traveling through, to learn about where you are wanting to break free, or how you want to break free from these metaphorical chains that can be holding you back in life. It's not something that you maybe conceive, feel, touch, but just you feel like there's something that's holding you back from really being your true authentic self. And because it's Lilith, we're talking about feminine power. We're talking about the receptive nature and your raw feminine power as it is defined by polarity, by being more receptive and embracive more than active and going out to take charge of something. And you can think about like traditional roles that you no longer relate to. And then your Scorpio and Taurus houses are going to show you the parts of life that are part of this process of freeing yourself to live in balance with your feminine and masculine sides, or your receptive and proactive sides. Saturn, we're going to talk about Saturn briefly. Saturn recently went direct on November 4th. And that gives us all the chance to reaffirm our structure, boundaries, and strategies in life. and especially as it pertains to the house Saturn is in. So Saturn is in Pisces, so look for the Pisces part of your chart. That's where Saturn is traveling through, and it can show you where you may be taking on more responsibility, or you're building something important in your life, and where things may start progressing forward again if they were stuck for some time during the Saturn retrograde, which started in mid-June of this year. So you can look back to mid-June until November 4th as the retrograde period for Saturn. And then lastly, I wanted to mention on November 25th, Mercury is going to enter its pre-shadow phase. And then it goes retrograde on December the 13th. Between now and November 25th, when we start the pre-shadow phase, is a great time to kick off or launch anything new that you have going on, things that you wanted to get started before the next Mercury retrograde phase. And then once we get to mid-December, when Mercury actually goes retrograde, then that's going to be the best time to catch up on things that have already started and resolve anything from the past. So since Mercury is going to be retrograde over the holidays, keep this in mind, as it could be a good time for you to resolve any old family issues. And if you want to complete your holiday shopping with Mercury direct, I suggest you start now. Cash in on Black Friday sales, wrap up your shopping this month so you can kick back, slow down, and enjoy the Mercury retrograde holiday season. If you're looking for more ideas to do for the new moon, I have a few for you. Do a new moon ritual that includes water, Scorpio's element. And I have a free guide for new moon rituals, which I will link to below so that you can use that one if you want to. I would try to meditate or do something near still water. So Scorpio is a water sign, and still waters are Scorpio's type. So a still pond, a wishing well, or even a renewing bath would be nice. Do some reflective and introspective meditation by water. Take some extra time to sit in silence and allow yourself to reflect inward. Scorpio loves to do that. You can research ideas that inspire you and put together an action plan with Mars right there, really boosting the energy. You could start writing your vision for 2024. You can use my exercise that I do every year. I list all the things I'm grateful for from 2023, like from this year. I list all the things I'm happy to leave behind from this year, 2023. And I list all of my accomplishments that I did in the current year. After I've done that, then I list my major goals for the next year, for 2024. And then I make a vision board that is based on my major 2024 goals. So feel free to use my approach. I've been doing it every year for, I think, 15 years at this point, and I love it. It really helps me get on track and know kind of like where I'm going the next year. I highly recommend that you do goal setting. If nothing else, write some major goals that you want to accomplish for next year. If you want to work around the Mercury retrograde cycle, launch new activities or new phases of projects before the Mercury pre-shadow starts on November 25th. So that's right now up until November 25th. And remember that Mercury retrograde starts on December the 13th. Read a mystery or fantasy novel, or watch something in this genre, like a movie or a series. With Venus in Libra and Mercury in Sagittarius, it can be a good time to do some holiday party planning, especially if you want to get that done before the pre-shadow retrograde period starts on the 25th. And kind of along with that, just get a head start on your social calendar for the holiday season. So those are some ideas for you to do for the Scorpio new moon. I'm going to wrap up with a couple of inspirational quotes that relate to the Scorpio new moon. And I'm using the theme of regenerative reflection. So the first one is from Carl Jung, the psychoanalyst, who says, "The cosmos is a mirror, reflecting back to us our own inner world. As we contemplate the planets and stars, we are also contemplating our own depths." It's just very scorpionic and very astrology. So thank you, Carl Jung. The next one I have from you is, I think, straight from the Scorpio playbook. And this quote is from the ancient philosopher Socrates, who said, "The unexamined life is not worth living." Now, I certainly want everyone to implement well-being and stay alive, please. It's just that the unexamined life is not worth living. I think just really speaks to Scorpio's approach to life. So examine, do some examining. All right, that's all I have for you on the Scorpio new moon. I really appreciate you watching this video. And if you enjoyed what you watched today, please hit the like button and subscribe to my channel. I also have a blog, and I will deliver this information to you in written form. You can subscribe on my website. I have a link for that below as well. I help people find their life purpose, their mission, and I help people build their personal brands through marketing. Thank you again, and I'll see you next time. Ciao.